G'day, my name's Alan Gamble. Welcome to another weekend of Aussie Box Office Charts. Weekend number 12 for 2026. Let's dive in. We've got some great numbers to look at this week. Kicking us off, Project Hail Mary enters the chart with a blast, taking both the number one spot for this weekend and the new number one opening movie of 2026 with its $6.1 million opening for a current total of just under $7 million. Great good numbers for that. We'll compare that to The Martian after the top 10 to see how Andy Weir novels stack up as movies. Hint, it's pretty good. At number 2, we have Dhurandhar, The Revenge, also smashing into the charts with a massive $3.5 million opening. For the record, the highest opening Indian movie last year was Coolie, that opened to $1.2 million. So, highest opening international movie in Australia since Demon Slayer Infinity Castle last year. Great numbers for that. That is really impressive. I'm curious to see what the drop-off on week 2 will be, though. Indian cinema tends to drop really hard. At number 3, we have Goat moving down in its second week of release, dropping 38% with another $800,000 for a current total of $6.2 million. Down at number 4 is Reminders of Him with another $788,000, dropping 32% in its second week of release for a current total of just over $3 million. And Ready or Not 2 sneaks into the chart at number 5 with a just under $500,000 opening. We'll compare that to the original after the top 10 as well. Moving on to 6 through 10, down at number 6 is Wuthering Heights with another $370,000. Its 6 week in release, dropping 55% for a current total of $19.7 million. That is the highest grossing movie of 2026 so far still. Scream 7 continues to drop fast, although not as fast as The Bride, which you will notice is not even in the top 10 chart in its third week of release. That is dropping significantly faster, but Scream 7, another $300,000, fourth week in release, dropping another 57% for a current total of $7.6 million. Adu 3 is at number 8, which is a Malayalam language comedy movie out of India, the third in a series that started back in 2015. Obviously quite popular, enough to make it onto the top 10. It brought in $225,000 with its opening. Tho Oi, The Money, which is a Vietnamese comedy drama, opens at $176,000 in position number 9, and rounding out top 10 is Elvis, Can't Keep Him Down, with another $99,000, its fifth week in release, dropping 52% for a current total of $3.9 million. So first to look at the updated top openings of 2026, because we had not one, but 2 new entries into this chart. Project Hail Mary becomes the highest opening movie of Australia in 2026 with its $6.1 million opening, which knocks Wuthering Heights and Scream 7 down to 2 and 3 with its $6 million and $3.5 million opening. Entering the chart at number 4 is Dhurandhar, The Revenge with its $3.5 million, knocking Marty Supreme down to number 5 with its $2.8 million. And obviously, 2 new entries means Goat with its $2.2 million just last week, and Song Sung Blue from January 1st are both out of the top 5. Our specialty charts will be pretty brief this week because there's not much to talk about. Andy Weir, first of all, The Martian back in 2015 opened to $6 million, $6,088,000 back in 2015. And Project Hail Mary seems to have the identical audience, opening at $6.15 million. So, will it leg out the same? We'll have to wait and see. The Martian opened in a later part of the year where there was a lot less competition, and it did leg out. It had really good legs. Project Hail Mary, unfortunately, it opened really well, but it's going up against a lot of competition. Big new Pixar movie next week. Super Mario Brothers the week after. It's going up against some heavy competition that may cannibalize the audience. Let's take a look at Ready or Not, and another pretty identical scenario here. Ready or Not back in 2019 opened to $440,000. Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, opened to $492,000. Very similar numbers, obviously a very similar audience and fan base, but it is going up a little bit, and that's good. It's better than going down, as we saw with some other franchises of late. But that's it for those charts. Let's move on to the top 10 for 2026. So we obviously have a little bit of movement on this chart. Wuthering Heights stays at number 1 with its $19.7 million. Song Sung Blue sticks around at number 2 with its $12.1. Mighty Supreme sticks around at number 3 with its $9.4 million. Scream 7 holds steady at $7.6 million at position number 4. Project Hail Mary enters the chart at number 5 with its $6.89 million opening plus previews. So it's a $6.1 million opening plus previews from like the Thursday nights and early screenings that were announced. Goat moves up with its $6.2 million into position number 6, and that knocks Crime 101 down to number 7 with its $5.3 million. Hamnet down to number 8 with its $5.1 million. Iron Lung down to number 9 with its just over $4 million. And Elvis Presley in Concert actually slides down to number 10 with its $3.9 million. Knocking out Send Help because of the new entry. Send Help is out of the charts. Moving on to upcoming releases, as I mentioned earlier, Hoppers is the new latest big Pixar movie directed by Daniel Chong and starring the voice talents of Bobby Moynihan, Piper Curda, and John Hamm. Can it do Pixar numbers? We'll have to wait and see. We also have I Swear on March 26th. It's getting its Australian release after picking up a bunch of awards at the BAFTAs a few weeks ago. Written and directed by Kirk Jones and starring Robert Aramayo, Maxine Peake, and Peter Mullen. We also have The Magic Faraway Tree opening, another family movie that's come from a book adaptation. This one is directed by Ben Gregor and starring Claire Foy, Andrew Garfield, and Phoenix LaRoche. In limited release, so check your local and smaller indie cinemas, they have They Will Kill You, a new action horror comedy directed by Kirill Sokolov and starring Zazie Beetz, Mahalia, and Peterson Joseph. So if the cutesy Hoppers is not your jam and you like blood and stabbing, I'm assuming go see that last one. Upcoming in streaming releases, we have a pretty stacked plate. First of all, we have Pretty Lethal, a new action thriller on Amazon Prime that drops on March 25th. It's about a troupe of ballerinas that find themselves in a fight for survival. Could be terrible, or it could be great. It's directed by Vicky Jewson and starring Lana Condor, Iris Apatow, Millicent Simmons, Maddie Ziegler, Avantika, and Uma Thurman. We also have Mike and Nick and Alice, a new sci-fi action comedy on Hulu, so we'll probably end up on Disney Plus in Australia. On March 27th, it's directed by Ben David Grabinski and starring Vince Vaughn, James Marsden, Eliza Gonzalez, and Keith David. We also have Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, a new mystery drama miniseries created by Hallie Z. Boston, starring Camilla Morone, Adam DeMarco, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. It's about a bride that has a feeling that something horrifying will happen at her wedding, but she doesn't know what. But you can catch it on Netflix on March 26th if that sounds like something that is your jam. Finally, we have Bait, a new comedy series directed by Riz Ahmed, starring Riz Ahmed, Gus Kahn, and Sheba Kadan. And moving on to returning series, we have Daredevil Born Again, Season 2. No, you're not crazy. I did report this was releasing early March, and it was supposed to, but Disney Plus pushed the release date to March 25th, which is where you can catch Season 2 on, obviously, Disney Plus. We also have For All Mankind, one of the best sci-fi shows on TV at the moment, returns for its Season 5 on Apple TV Plus, and you can catch it kicking off on March 27th. I am currently doing a rewatch of Season 3 and 4 into lead up of Season 5. I love this show. It starts off as a loose sci-fi, but more historical fiction alternate history, and by now it is full sci-fi. It's great. So, another 4 movies for this week's movie challenge for the theme of In Memoriam, so let's dive in. First up was 1991's Thelma and Louise, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Susan Sarandon, Jeannie Davies, Harvey Keitel, and In Memoriam of Michael Madsen. Taking a break from their dull lives, best friends Thelma and Louise take a short weekend trip that ends in an increasingly number of unexpected circumstances. This movie, along with another one from this week, were high on my radar as I'm documenting old Aussie box office stats from back in 1990 and 1991. It's also a Ridley Scott movie that I had never seen in full. And while I, and probably everyone, knows the ending of Thelma and Louise, the journey itself was still worth the ride. Next up was High and Low from 1963, directed by Akira Kurosawa, and starring Toshiro Mifune, Kyoko Kagawa, and in memoriam of Tatsuya Nakati. A Yokohama shoe executive faces a wrenching choice when kidnappers mistakenly seize his chauffeur's son, but demand a ransom anyway. Having just watched Spike Lee's remake, I can say this one was much better. It was basically the same for the first act of the movie, but this original one went way more into the investigation side of things, of tracking down the kidnapper, which was far more interesting than Denzel Washington just doing his own music thing. I didn't hate the Spike Lee one, but this one was significantly better. Moving on was The Adjustment Bureau from 2011, directed by George Nolfi and starring Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, Anthony Mackie, and in memoriam of Terence Stamp. A man disrupts fate only to be warned to back off, but when chance intervenes, he chooses to fight the Adjustment Bureau in the name of love. This one was probably the easiest watch of the week, and it was fine, nothing amazing, but fine enough, and it's always a delight seeing Emily Blunt do her thing. Fun movie, but way more about God than I was expecting. Finally was 1990's highest grossing movie in Australia, Dances with Wolves. Directed by Kevin Costner and starring Kevin Costner, Mary McDonnell, and in memoriam of Graham Greene. A wounded Civil War soldier, John Dunbar, tries to commit suicide and becomes a hero instead. As a reward, he's assigned to his dream post, a remote junction on the western frontier, and soon makes unlikely friends with a local Indian tribe. A long, slow burn at 3 hours, and increases to 4 if you go the extended cut. I did not. And yeah, it was good. It was a good historical drama. I've seen most of the premise done before and since, but it was still solid. Like, I can see why people kept going to see it. I didn't love it, but I can appreciate it for what it was, and I can appreciate that other people might love it more than I did. Moving on to this week's Cinechums Movie Challenge, we have same, but different. So we're talking remakes, reboots, reimaginings, or the original movie that got remade, rebooted, etc. People have kicked it off with Old Boy and Whispers of the Heart, The Running Man from last year. We've got options like 310 to Yuma or Ben-Hur, Coda, Heat, Infernal Affairs, King Kong's, Ocean's 11. We've got lots to choose from, but let's take a look at my shortlist. Over on my shortlist, we have Assault on Precinct 13's, we've got Dreads, Infernal Affairs, The Italian Jobs, we've got Jumanji or Jurassic Park rewatch, The Maltese Falcon, we've got some Solarises, The Thing, the 2011 one, I might eventually watch that, I guess, Yojimba, Watchmen, Total Recall, lots to choose from, but let's see how we go. But that is it for me this week. I might sneak and catch Hoppers on the weekend, the new Pixar movie, but more importantly, tune in next week and we will be checking out how Pixar does after their last movie, Elio, was quite underwhelming performance-wise. In fact, their last few have not been their biggest hits. Some have done okay, but we're going to compare all the Pixar numbers next weekend when we have a new Pixar out to check on the charts. How does Hoppers stack up? How does it compare to Elio or Elemental or old school Toy Stories? We have all those old numbers now. Nothing is going to waste. Tune in next week if we want to see that. But apart from that, that's it for me. Have a good one. Watch more movies. Bye.